Hey guys, Boris here, bringing you another VOD review. A little break from the cheat sheets, as I always wanted to be containing the newest, then the latest, and the most about the current meta. And since we have a patch tomorrow, need a little bit of time for that to develop. I myself will be definitely looking out for that Master Yi Brawler comp from the yesterday's video, as Master Yi received buffs, Psionic items received buffs, and 4 Brawler received buffs. For a perhaps more niche comp, I would be looking for some ways to make Emilio board work, since the unit was also already quite decent and received even more buffs. But for today, we're going to be jumping in game with Wonder right here, finished top 40 in the Paris Open and has been a competitive player pretty much throughout the history of TFT. Not exactly in the tier 1, but has been around for a very long time. We are starting our game out here, holding on to that Shepherd opener, perhaps some form of Vanguards. We can see he's already hovering that Meepsy right there. He's going to be picking it up, holding on to a Lulu. Lulu tech is a little bit unexplored. There are some ways, and also the team is aware that they want to make her stronger, but it's hard to make a board work with her really. For our augment selection right now, we see that our board is not exactly the strongest, and our slams would be either IE or a Spear of Shojin, if we were to consider them. Hand of Justice, we would probably want to have some form of crit item sorted out first for that. And therefore slamming does not exactly seem that as appealing. Portable Forge though is, again, if you're taking items onto one you generally want to be tempoing, I would be eyeing here the Calculated Loss, a prime econ augment that we could be playing either into a mech or any form of the 3-cost reroll, which is very prominent in the current meta, going for that 8 loss. Let's see what his options are going to be. Are we going to be going for a scout around the lobby? Reroll on early learnings. This is the prime for any form of 1-cost reroll. We don't exactly have the items for Teemo. Perhaps we could be considering Stargazer reroll. I did not exactly catch what the constellation is. But we see that there's a player playing a Stargazer with a Lulu opener. But since we only have a single TF, not exactly sure if we want to be going it. But the thing to know that the buff does work retroactively. Vow and Magic right there. Again, item augment onto one. We want to be tempoing that, especially one that requires you to be spending mana. You want to have some form, at least strong front line. We're going to go in with a calculated loss, but we see that there's an open player right there. Therefore, we have to be very careful. Also, only hold on to that Briar for potential to perform any form of print any form of extra econ through these primordial units. He seems to be going through his list here of comps, pinning, I think it was the Urgot reroll. We'll have to see, but there are a couple of open players, so this is why Calculated Loss is amazing in the meta, but there's a lot of players who are playing, and this L3S Coco here picked up that Prowler's Claw, has the QSSS slam, so they are definitely going for that Urgot. Would not want to be contesting reroll and at all. We have slotted in the Rogue reroll. Now that's an interesting choice. As generally I would be only playing this comp from the kind of a tempo spot. Kaisa is great from the box. Fizzbit items can also do pretty nasty things in stage 2 and early stage 3. But we're just trying to find an open reroll. We see that the lobby is leaning a little bit more in the reroll routes as well. But let's see if we are able to continuously dodge this open BQ into them right away. So let's see if the calculated loss procs. I know that the loss streak is reset on you for both of you, so we're not going to be gaining a lot of gold from that. And it seems that we have 3 free rolls, so are we going to get an extra couple of gold on the next turn? Let's see how they have coded the things behind, but before that we have to look at our gold selection right now. Since our loss streak got reset, econ taking here, econ is quite nice, but we are playing for a 3-cost reroll, especially that is generally a little bit weaker in the combat side. We might want to be playing these items. Gloves are amazing for this comp, as Fizz loves these glove items. Particularly Jewel Gauntlet and Hodge are great for him. Then the last item you would want to be Nasher, so he's reminding his empowered attack form all the time, but it's fine if you don't exactly have that. But we have gods in both, and generally I would believe that in our mind we want to be aligning ourselves with the Kale to try to hopefully hit that Radiate item right there. We have offered a Kaisa for ourselves, so maybe picking it up. We have fought the Lost Streaker, so time for us to try to save a little bit of Nikon. It seems that we got a couple of gold, so it seems that Calculated Loss still procs. I don't think that was just the gold from the carousel. It was just that 2 gold we got from the Calculated Loss right there, so at least that is going for you. Unfortunately, our loss streak got open, and the loss streak is gaining the most value from it once you're able to make it to those 6 losses and print the 3 gold, and obviously 5 lossing into neutrals as your streak gold carries over into neutrals as well. So we are going to be in a little bit rougher spot in that form, but thankfully we have that econ augment. It's a little bit worse for the player, for Eltreus Coco right there, since they have an item augment and might be trying to file to get any form of resources. But the Surgot 2 with Prowler's Claw, I would imagine, is extremely stable in a 2-star, especially in the first half of stage 4. Completing our loss streak right here, only on a pseudo loss streak with 2 losses, at least going to get a single interest gold going over there. And the Coco has managed to string together a pretty decent board for themselves. Going to be probably living here to level 5 and just slotting in the 3-cost units. Generally, they should have enough damage themselves to be able to finish this off. Going to be slamming items for insurance right there. The real PvE monster in this set is that Gromp right there. I've seen quite a lot of players actually lose it when playing for some kind of a mech board. Able to find a Milio, so maybe we're able to attack in a Timebreaker. Do not see that on turn. Checking right here. We have an Arbiter option to be printing as... for each interest gain, this guarantee is to print as a single reroll. This does not have the possibility to be stacking multiple times. You can only have a 100% guaranteed chance to be getting there. Swapping our positioning here, as it seems another loss streaker is now open, is now a pool. So just going to be printing a few rerolls here and trying to complete our 5 loss going into 3-5, where we're going to be rolling down and trying to stabilize. For our next augment selection, I would imagine that since we have the econ pretty much sorted out, we'll be looking for some form of items as we want to be empowering our units and trying to pick up some rounds on stage 4 that way. Unfortunately, I only get combat options right here. Climb the ladder is not exactly what we're looking to play. We're not playing a vertical comp. Warlord's Honor is a pretty decent combat augment in itself. Ideally, would be able to get a stacking since we're looking for a spike, not exactly that. Plot Armor is also a pretty decent tankiness option to provide for ourselves, but we already have that built-in survivability in our rogue. Find a grab bag, so I'm defaulting that right now. We have our recon sorted out, otherwise we'll be probably going with a care package since that has an option for ourselves to be gaining some duplicators. Now, just finding a Timebreaker as well, so we are going full econ mod for these last couple of rounds. Just trying to gain as much gold as we can, and we should be quite fine there. Hopefully able to pick up our units on our roll down. We'll have to be very diligent with that. Sorting out the Last Whisper and the Spear of Shojin for our Kaisa, so that's sorted out. And these next gloves will be looking for some form of fizz items, most likely. Do not exactly get that, so we could be considering a belt right here, either for that Nashor's Tooth or any form of a tank item. Going to be ripping a Reforge on one of these chains that we had slammed. Find a tier, which can be nice. Yeah, we're going to be completing the Hodge right there since we have these open gloves which are going to be transitioning in other form of crit items. Or Steadfast, as that's also nice to be topping off your Orn. Queue into a Primordian reroll player right there. Are they? Yeah, they're the treasure hunt, they should be rerolling. Carrying that Briar right there, very strong build of Briar. If they didn't have the reroll augment right there, this might have been a spot to be playing for some of the Master Yi. They have quite nice Master Yi components if they're able to complete that Edge of Night as well for him. For our next selection right now, another sword is not exactly what we were looking for, and therefore I would be eyeing this extra gold from Ari. Since we're going to be rolling down, we might have to roll a little heavier. This is going to be helping us to make that econ threshold. Picking up, I believe, Rust right there. Yeah, we have Rust in our Pleen Blender, so going to be picking up. Also have managed to find a single Karma, which can be slotted in pretty much immediately. Full selling right here, so we have to be going 70 gold. We're quite rich right now, but we still have to buy pretty much our whole board. Able to find a Kaisa 2 very early on. Able to pick up a Rammus pair as well, and Orn 2 completed. Did not find the Fizz 2, but this should hopefully be quite sufficient. Do have at least a single tower. No, this is the Warren's own printed item. Warren is nice in that way that he's able to print you an item right there, especially when you're in need of these tank items. Therefore, we do not exactly prio them, but he is on the weaker side because of that in his 4 stats. See that there's this couple of Urgot players in this Prowler's Claw. Urgot is going to be quite scary, so we're opting to roll here as we do want to be securing ourselves at least 3 comfortable lives going into the next stage. Going for the last second, not exactly the last second, but the swap since we see these Urgot players are right there. And nicely that works out. We're able to be on the weak side. This Kaisa is going to be gaining resets by killing off these weaker units, and we're going to be getting a lot of more DPS that way and able to get through them, as the Surgot has not managed to get through our front line. And that is, thankfully we dodged that Prowler's Claw from the Eltreus Coco. Very nice to be completing here. Now hopefully we're able to pick up a few rounds on this stage 4 before we hit our 3 stars. Do not want to be hitting them on 1 life. as we see that the lobby has quite high potential to cap, as they have pretty good setups on their own part. Still a little bit lower on the gold side, picking up that rod from our anvil, completing our 3-item fizz. So now you can be sorting the last one to be trying to slot out, pick up a Ramus too. So now we want just wanting to be having the, wanting to have the tank items, able to slam the Sunfire right there. Going to be going with, it seems to be Stone Plate. That's not exactly the item you would be expecting to be slamming on stage 4, since it's going to be gaining more value in the later stages, and especially in a Bastion unit which already has some Ignite resistances, but simply perhaps evaluating the opportunity to be saving some of our Reforgers. I would not exactly gamble on the Reforging a Radiant item though if we get a tank item, but perhaps that's his choice. But in the next augment selection you have my bow, simply understated augment in itself, and we are not exactly in the biggest lovers of attack speed for this comp, so that's going to be our first reroll. Then Exiles can make our positioning tricky, can provide us a little bit survivability though, which would be nice. I would be probably leaning it now. We already are gaining raw stats from the rogue trait, so perhaps Exiles here is quite nice. Second win is also going to be a little bit overlap of our trait, otherwise it's very nice for our frontline. Now best friends generally, since it's an AP centric meta, is not the strongest of the augments you might be considering, but we see there's quite a few Urgot players that are potentially going to be the winner players. There might have been a Zaya player in the lobby as well, so we could have to see. We have to be very wary of our lobby if we are taking this one. Apathetic, so he seems to be loving either one of these combat options more. Apathetic Forge, we only have a open tank slot, and this would be taking these general Forge augments on the stage 4 is generally a gamble. We're not exactly looking for items right now. We are going to be having that sorted out. So we're probably going to be picking some form of a combat option right now. Going to be going with those best friends, going in that positioning right now. This nicely also enables us to be in some form making more use out of this Stone Plate right now. In queuing into the, this is Nami Riven comp, so there's going to be quite a little bit of AD across the board. Again, we're doubling down on these resistances, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's going to be quite neat. We also have a Ras to provide us resistances, so we have resistances across the board. It should be quite durable, that's the neat part, but yeah, the lobby seems to be quite heavy on ADC, and we have this Marauder Briar 3 right there. We have this Meepsy. Thankfully, we're queuing into her when she's on the opposite side, so our Kai'Sa is going to be safe. This is where we would be quite fragile. You can see she's putting in a bonk right there. Very strong, but since our Kai'Sa stayed alive, able to pick up those resets from gaining the takedowns, and we are able to get them retarget on her after her Edge of Night proc and go there. Now, in our mind here, we would want to be lighting kill, so we are forced to be taking up, and this is going to be a spark that we can just slam right now, trying to tempo off that. We are a little bit off from hitting, so 12 gold would be nice, but we want to be lining for that Radiant item, so we just simply have to pick up this spark, and let's see if we're going to be making that slam. Going for a roll down, one Kai'Sa away, so we're probably going to be considering digging here. Lots of ways away from our fizzes, but a little bit closer now. Opting to stop here, do not want to be nuking our recon completely. But thankfully he's still able to continue our streak. I mean, could have been a decision that we might have opted to even roll down to 10 here, since that we are able to go on a 6 streak, but thankfully able to pick up a win, extend our streak, so the greed has paid off, and this is going to highly make our chances of going level 8 earlier, or he just knew he's going to be naturaling in the next turn. We're able to pick up the Kai'Sa tree, and hopefully that's going to be sufficient. There's a couple of Urgot players, so they're going to be playing on a lower cap, and at least until one of them dies, and they're both in the low streak position, so a little bit vulnerable right there, queuing into this Urgot. And it's also another thing to note that he's opting to position his best friends in a way that he's splitting up these front lines, which is a nice idea, but I'm not exactly sure what's behind it. Seeing that we have potentially maybe a fizz way to wrap. Now we could be probably looking for another form of tank item. We have this Ramus too, and once we hit our own 2, we could be considering, so probably going for a couple of components right there. Crown Guard is a nice one to be picking up right now. Probably going to be slamming that one off both. Couple of rolls, hit them both. This is nice that we were able to delay our roll down a little bit, let the other 3 cost 3 rolls pull out a lot of these units, then make the most efficient use out of our gold through that. Now, we have opted to slot the items on the Ramos. I would imagine that trying to get a Radiant item on this one could be quite valuable, but we're going to be going with that 2-2 split, getting the third item here on the Ornn, which obviously he prints himself, but the Radiant is exactly what's going to be bringing your power through. Interesting play. Perhaps he's valuing having both valuable tanks on both sides, since we're going for the split positioning and we do not exactly can ensure which player we're going to be facing. I would be paying a little bit more attention. We see that the one Urgot player hit, and that's the Striker's Flare Plaural Skull Urgot. Now, this is going to be an absolute menace to be facing, but for now, we're going to be queuing into a Shojin Nunu. Well, I mean, this guy just loves mana. His value is in the CC, but we're able to get through them without issues. Again, on the weak side, Kai'Sa getting resets is going to be quite neat for ourselves. Have that Riven also prime. Thankfully, we're able to secure that with all these Nami players in the lobby, leveling that for that right now. And we are on a 9 streak, so we are in a very prime position to hopefully taking top 4. We can see he's quite happy. Managed to high roll his Radiant item on that Kai'Sa. Managed to hit quite early on. Queuing into the Urgot, now we're going to be going face to face. Let's see how we fare, but I would imagine this Urgot is a menace. Able to melt through that Rammus absolutely with no problems, and just then execute out of backline. So much damage into this guy. Thankfully, he does not have an... I think with IE, you're not... With Prowess, you're not going exactly for that IE on him. You have that Akali to provide that crit, so you don't need it exactly. Pick up another Crown's Guard, so now would imagine we're slotting 3 items on this one, right? Just get him this guy in a Radiant item right now. No, we're going on a Rammus. It's an interesting choice, but let's see how we fare again into another Riven Nami player with the Radiant Jewel Gauntlet. Again, on the weak side, we're able to push through this. Viz is putting in quite a lot of work, and then Kai'Sa is able to finish up these fights. Not exactly, unfortunately. This one seems to be a little bit stronger. They seem to be getting a little bit... They have the better itemization, going for our rolls here, but we could only be chasing this Karma 2 or the Meepsy 2. Meepsy 2 is nice, but now we're going to be transitioning our items right there, having pretty much most of the utility sorted out on one side. See that we wanted to go for a last second swap, but we can see now how nice is that. Now this Blitzcrank is going to be knocking one of your tanks down. The duo tank setup here works out quite neatly, and the Kai'Sa has been able to get just remain alive to be able to clean up their backline. And we are nice, but this next fight is going to be absolutely crucial for ourselves. This is pretty much going to be deciding 3 placements, perhaps even, since the lobby is so close. Now we are transitioning also into more neutral form of a best friends position. I don't see exactly the value from the positioning with the open mid, but if you have some insights, please let me know in the comments down below. Picking up a Dragon's Claw, since we have one form of a armor item already through that Crown Guard, and doubling down on Crown Guard is generally not the highest value unless you are on some kind of full frontline unit right there. Into the another Primordian player that seems... No, this is perhaps more Nova. Yeah, this is the Primordian player. We're able to clean them up quite nicely. The Rammus did not even get through that, and we are securing our top 4 right here. Extremely close lobby, expected to be probably over in the next couple of turns. We are just short of leveling, going to be giving up on the Riven pair to secure our level, get the pure stats, as these are the fights that are going to be completely deciding our placement. This player, we can see that is not going to be going for that swap, so we're able to get that ward right in front of him. Rolls a Radiant Declaw, so this time is going to have start struggles, and we are on the weak side. See, this player did not even like scout us, so we're able to pick up a pretty free win right now, as they just get stuck on our tanks. And so now we are facing our nemesis. 2 open players playing for these strong 3-cost rerolls. Are we going to be able to close out on this Prowler's Claw Urgot? Do not manage to improve our board, so positioning is going to be key. Are we going to have a tank going to be going for potential bait? Now, they have just middled the Urgot for that purpose, but thankfully the Ornn is going to be fronted this Karma. Does not get the jump on our backline, so that is crucial for ourselves. This Kai'Sa does get that reset, and we should be able to pick up a win that is expected last autos, and we're able to secure a win. It's a rare rogue win out. Pretty much, this is just absolute masterclass. Let's quickly recap. You can see that Urgot jumped on the backline, but it seems that he turned and popped the Ras that made him go back and get stuck onto that Ornn, and that was exactly what we needed as he went into cast, and Kai'Sa was able to, on 1 life, clean off that Urgot. A little bit of unlucky fight RNG, but what set up our game. We were able to taking a strong eco Noglan from a weak position, then finding an open line that we can play for. We see that the lobby is quite heavy on real lobby, so we definitely want to be spiking our board, nicely executing our spike. Little bit of high roll and how fast we were able to hit our units, but once there are so many 3 costs being pulled out of pool, shouldn't be a surprise that our rolls are going to be very efficient. Crucially securing that 2-win going into the stage 3 neutrals. From there, able to streak by dodging some of the stronger players and retrieve a Kai cap, and then meticulously positioning around whoever we are facing, and that's our wins, and we are able to win out the last fight thanks to Mortdog himself. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. The one sheet that I made on my meta read is available in the link down below. Going to be updating it as I go and study the new patch, and I wish to see you then. Have a good one.